Well, hello, Ferrari fans, and hello, race fans. Welcome back to the Ferrari Fan Club podcast. Today on the show, we have another special guest. His name is Tony Qian. He's a luxury automotive and motorsports leader with over 15 years of experience designing, operating, and scaling premium brands, programs, elite customer experiences, and motorsports-adjacent activities for global automotive brands. Most recently, he's served as Motorsports Drivers Program Manager at Ferrari North America, and his scope includes Ferrari Challenge Race Weekends, Corso Pilota racing schools, Formula One race week execution, and other on-site operations. Tony's also a former professional racing driver, so we're super excited to have him on the show. Thanks for joining us, Tony.
Thanks, Sander. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited to get into these questions, find out a little bit more about what you've done in your career. And we're also going to have a portion of this episode dedicated to talking all things Ferrari. So we got a lot of cool things to get into. And why don't we start right out of the gate with, you've worn many different hats over the years. So where did you get your start and how did your career path lead you to end up working with Ferrari?
Sure. I've essentially spent my entire life working in motorsports and automotive of some capacity or other. I started racing go-karts about 9 years old, proceeded up into junior single-seaters, raced a little bit of sports cars. And after I retired from racing, I was kind of doing the racing school as an instructor for a little while, and was doing a bit of consulting, getting into training for manufacturers, car dealerships. And then I got a message from a headhunter on LinkedIn one day going, "Hey, we have this open role at Ferrari. Would you like to be interested, or would you be interested?" And I went, "Okay, so this is a scam." Didn't reply. But then like 3 messages later, I was like, this is a lot of effort for a scam. So maybe I'll call this person back. Yeah, probably 3 months after that, had my first day working at Ferrari.
Wow, that's amazing because we're all kind of geared that way to think it's, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yep. And I don't know about you on LinkedIn, but I get just tons of random messages all the time. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, probably like 95% of them.
Well, that's amazing. That's super cool experience getting in there. And so you've done a lot with driver development, working with schools. So tell us more about that. And what do you enjoy the most about working with up and coming drivers?
So, I mean, I started off coaching at kind of racing schools just because it was a way to make money from my racing background. It's always been interesting to me to see kind of how people learn, especially when it comes to something like driving a car, which everyone thinks they can do and do well, but I think very few people actually do. It ended up just kind of being a very natural fit for probably my background. What was the second half of your question there? Sorry.
It was just about what you enjoy most about working with up and coming drivers.
Seeing the progression, seeing them do well, seeing them grow and develop, I definitely get a big kick out of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's something that if this ever kind of went anywhere, I would love to experiment more with in that field is actually getting some adequate training and all that kind of stuff. I love what you said about how a lot of people can think they can jump into a car and just race it. Or a lot of people will think it's like, oh, it's so simple. It's a gas brake, you turn the steering wheel, right? But there's so much more nuance to it than that. And that is absolutely something that eventually I want to get my hands on a little bit more. It would be amazing to actually have hands-on with a professional.
Sure. So one of the racing schools that I used to work with, we would give out a survey kind of before the day started. And one of the questions on there was always, rank your driving skill from 1 to 10. And the amount of people that would put like 9 on it, right? Or 10 even. So like, all right, let me get this straight. Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and you. Let's think about this one.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to look at it. I mean, with that kind of example, I'd probably have to put myself at a 1 or a 2.
Which, yeah, I mean, I think most people probably should, frankly. But I think at least for every male in the room, they're probably putting at least an 8 for the most part, I think.
Yeah, it's so interesting too when you think about that because they're at the school, right? They're attending. And if you're coming to the school and you're putting yourself as a 9 or a 10, it's kind of like, why do you need the training?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll take your money though. No problem.
Excellent. So you have worked with Ferrari in race week activation. So what's been some of your favorite experiences working with the team?
So I led the first ever, Ferrari's first ever participation in Pirelli Hot Laps, which, if your viewers aren't familiar with it, during the race weekend, there's certain blocks sectioned off for basically every manufacturer to provide 2-3 cars to give ride-alongs on the racetrack with a professional driver. Sometimes we'll have the race driver, sometimes we'll have the reserve driver, sometimes we'll just have some of my instructors from racing school. So the opportunity to get on the track during the race weekend with all the fans is pretty damn special. It's been pretty amazing. So that was super cool. 24 Miami race. So we were in the garages, on the pit lane, on the grid, putting in, at the time, it was a lot of big wigs from HP. That was the first race that we kind of had the title sponsorship with. And then the other pretty spectacular life experience, I think, was, well, I guess I have two more then. I got to do a couple laps on Fiorano at the factory in Maranello. Oh. I was there for a race school week. I was there for Finale Mondiale, which is the Ferrari Challenge kind of world championship at the end of the season. There was a Corso Pilota school, I think it was like 2 days before. So, hey, might as well go check out how the Italians do it. Yeah, I was in a car for probably 3 laps or so on Fiorano. So typically, can't really pay for that type of experience. So pretty special.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry. Yes. And the third one, so Ferrari Challenge was the first ever support series race for F1 in Vegas 2 years ago. So we had brought, I think it was 30 or 40 challenge drivers, challenge cars being on the start grid before that. Under the lights in Vegas I couldn't believe I was living it.
Yeah, that's a fascinating experience. It must have been an incredible thing to see all those Ferraris on the Vegas Strip. But yeah, super cool working with the team that closely and with the Pirelli the Pirelli hot laps and stuff. And speaking more about that, you've piloting those cars. Were you ever with somebody that you had a favorite experience piloting somebody around the track? Like, did you scare anybody?
So, sorry, I need to clarify. I didn't drive on the Miami track for hot laps. We brought instructors for that. I just organized I'm just going to say I organized all of that. So okay. I did get to bring out the cars on some of the post, bringing out the cars and bringing back in the cars after the sessions. So, I got to do 7/8 probably of the Miami circuit, going relatively quickly too. But during hot laps in general, yeah, I think a lot of people don't know if they've never been in a proper race car or even a street car getting driven on the racetrack by someone who knows what they're doing. It's a very eye-opening experience. Like, oh my God, the street car that I can take to Starbucks can do this.
Yeah, that is insane. Have you ever been piloting a car like that before with somebody else in it that was terrified?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I've had people, I remember distinctly one lady, she'd probably just come straight from church, dressed Sunday best, and a little older lady. And, we take off. She's like, oh, Lord. And then maybe 30 seconds later was going down the straight. I'm like, that's not what I expected. I've had people puke inside their helmets during a hot lap before. I think Austin last year, we had someone actually poop themselves. So yeah, it's usually, most of them aren't that memorable, frankly, but every so often you definitely get a fun one.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Thanks for sharing those experiences though. So you've also led projects for Formula One Paddock Club for the North American Grand Prix weekend. So explain what it kind of takes to organize these events.
It's a lot of coordinations. Mostly what I do is make sure kind of VIPs within Paddock Club get to their activities. So some of them we do, or, we put them on the back of flatbed trucks, or if you're VVIP, we put you in an SUV and drive you around the track and talk about, this is turn 1, this is what the drivers are doing here, this is the view, this is what you have to pay attention to. For a track tour, we take clients kind of past that first fence against the actual crash barrier fence. So you can't really get any closer to a faster moving F1 car. We take them for tours of the paddock, which I'm always joking. It's kind of like going on safari, like have your cameras ready. Don't touch any of the zoo animals. But if the drivers or the team principals or any of their personnel walk by, feel free to grab a picture. Sometimes we put them on the pit wall. It kind of just depends on what the activation is for the various spaces. But there's a lot of moving pieces. Race weekends, if someone has an incident and the timetable gets pushed, now we have to coordinate with the handlers for the VIPs. We have to coordinate with security getting in and out of various areas. There's always a lot going on all the time, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it is a lot to keep track of. And I bet it's kind of hard to keep people's excitement in check at events like these.
Yes. Well, you might be surprised. There's a fair amount of people within Paddock Club who I think are there on a company sponsor pass.
Interesting.
So those, and you can kind of tell those people immediately because they're not really interested in watching and getting up close to things. They just want to kind of sit and eat and drink.
Okay.
Which is, for me, it's kind of sad, but I'm working and they're enjoying. So who am I to talk about it, right? But there's a fair amount of people who are there. I'm pretty sure on sponsored tickets, right? Because they work for whatever company that sponsors that particular team, and they're just there to have a good time. Some of them aren't actually like paying attention. I feel like sometimes.
Oh man, yeah. If I was behind the scenes at any Grand Prix or got to see any of Ferrari drivers, Pinello, I would be on cloud nine. Like I would be wanting to talk to everybody. I'd got to get those pictures and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I'd be losing my mind.
Don't get me wrong, but there's plenty of those, right? And then you have some people who you start taking on an activity on a tour, and they're like, "I'm going back to my suite. Like I'm good." Like, all right,
man. Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, I understand. Like people aren't. Not everyone's into motorsports and all this kind of stuff and everything like that. But I don't know how you're in a place like that and being surrounded by all of this cool stuff and kind of just not take a moment to take it all in and appreciate it. It's just every time I'm at a racetrack, I'm just kind of in awe. It's sensory overload in the best way.
It's definitely a little bit disappointing, I think, for me when I see those people. But again, they're there to have a good time, and I'm here to provide.
That's true. Yeah. And yeah, not everyone's going to be into it, but yeah, as long as they have a good experience, I mean, and that's really cool. The opportunities that you provide in those programs provide as well.
It's so much. I think you've seen what kind of Drive to Survive has done for F1 and the whole story, right? Like that's the biggest change, I think, in F1 recently. You used to just watch it on TV. You see a guy in a helmet that doesn't really look that different from the other 19 drivers on the track. You can't really tell if they're a human or a robot, right? And Netflix has started telling that story behind the drivers, their backgrounds, the drama, and suddenly everyone is into it. You have to tell the human story. You have to tell the story of what's going on outside of just you see a car going by every minute and a half.
Yeah, Drive to Survive definitely did take a hold on everybody, especially during the COVID section with people having nothing to do and people that I would interact with that had no idea what Formula One was before. They'd be like, "Oh, Xander, you're into that Formula One, right? I just saw the show on Netflix." Yep. And so it really did have take a hold on a lot of different people, which is cool because, then you get more exposure and more people into the sport. The show's not everybody's cup of tea, but it did do a lot for Formula One and its popularity, and that I'm grateful for.
For sure. I think I read somewhere that it's created like 25 million new fans in the US alone.
That's insane.
So, I mean, we have that show to basically thank for the Miami race and the Vegas race, I would think.
Oh man, that is incredible. If you were to change one thing about the show, what would it be?
I think the later seasons have gotten overly dramatic. Where they've started almost not creating it, but like, I guess nitpicking of what's happening in order to make more drama. And I think realistically, you don't actually have to do that. I feel like they, whoever's producing it, feeling like they need to turn it up every season. And it's like, well, no, every season's its own dramatic story. Like it's a bit overdone, I think, to me now.
I agree. I would have to agree with that. I remember really enjoying the first few seasons, and they have kind of like escalated the drama with every single one. Like you got the famous, I think it was using Sebastian Vettel's radio in a completely different season and race and putting it on one of the Austrian Grand Prix or something like that. But yeah, they do try to hype all of that up. I would probably want to see more for this next upcoming season. I just want the behind the scenes stuff. Like give me drivers in briefings with their headphones on just talking, like all of that kind of stuff. Like because I feel like they're showing a lot more of the on track stuff now, like clips of the cars on track, which is what most people have already seen. I know some people don't actually watch the season of Formula One, but if we could just get more of the behind the scenes stuff and less of the racing part, because again, like most people have watched the season, I feel like they need to bring more of that behind the curtain element, which I thought the earlier seasons had a little bit more of.
Yeah. And I think it would be a great storyline because you have to have a storyline. I get it, right? It's dramatic TV. But I don't think it's necessary to kind of turn everything up like they have been. If you like, I don't know if you've seen the two documentaries on Le Mans that Audi did back in probably 10 years ago now, Truth in 24, Truth in 24 2. They were on Apple TV for a while. I don't know if they're still there.
I think I've seen the first one.
Yeah. So to me, the second one's a little bit better than the first one, but that to me was a great example of telling the storyline of the race with the behind the scenes action of the humans without going absolutely overboard. Because a 24-hour race is more than dramatic enough if you know how to tell the story.
Absolutely. The stories are all there. They're just waiting to be brought to the forefront or shed some light on there. You kind of just have to point people in the direction of the story so then they actually are paying attention to it because, like you said, it is already there. Like nothing needs to be fabricated. But I absolutely agree. So going back to more of the going back to the Ferrari topic, what makes the brand so unique in the world that you operate in, and what makes them a cut above in experiences and driver activation?
Sure. As far as I know, I mean, Ferrari is born in motorsport. That's what Enzo Ferrari wanted to do. That's the only thing he wanted to do. He had no desire to go sell street cars, but he had to in order to go pay for racing, right? Every other manufacturer treats racing as a marketing campaign. So every other manufacturer, I'm sure you've heard the saying, we win on Sunday, we sell on Monday. Ferrari at its core, original, they wanted to sell, Monday through Friday and then go win on Sunday to go pay for Sunday. So it is a very different kind of environment in terms of motorsports, right? Within North America specifically, what I had the privilege of working on, my main project at Ferrari was to manage a racing school called Corso Pilota. And as far as I know, there is no other manufacturer that does it that way, where we take owners of Ferrari cars, we put them through the school, the program, and at the end they have an IMSA license, or they're eligible for an IMSA license, and they can go racing in Ferrari Challenge with us. So we have our own farm system. Most Ferrari Challenge Race Weekends, we're looking probably about 200 cars or so in that neighborhood.
Wow.
And not all of them are racing, right? So we do kind of a time attack track, kind of just open lapping sessions as well. You go to a paddock like Coda with Ferrari Challenge, and the whole paddock is packed of cars and trailers and race teams. And we can support a 3-day weekend with just Ferrari Challenge. Whereas you look at brands like McLaren and Ford now, Lamborghini with their various customer racing programs, they're always a support race, right? To an IMSA weekend, SRO, something like that. So Ferrari really has built quite a product in terms of Ferrari Challenge. In North America, it's AM racing only. In Europe, there is a class of professionals that go racing in Ferrari Challenge, and then the amateurs. In North America, it's only amateurs, usually successful business people who do it as a fun hobby, and it's built such a community as well between racing school and Challenge. Some of these clients spend more time with us than they did with their families in a given year. And we always do an evening event at whatever area we're in. Like if it's Sonoma, we've done Castello di Amoroso, like we did a party in that castle over there. Yeah, on a yacht, I think we've done once. It's just some incredible experiences there as well.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And that is one thing I do love about Ferrari is they really want to get people involved with the manufacturer and getting people to these events. And just because Ferrari, from what I've heard from a lot of people that are involved with it, is just an experience. And I think it's amazing that they want to get these people just to experience what driving, having, or everything around Ferrari really is. And something else that I was curious about with moving up through like the Ferrari Challenge ladder, have you seen people start in Ferrari Challenge and then make their way to a different motorsport after that?
Yeah. So we've had quite a few clients go racing from Ferrari Challenge to GT3. Off the top of my head, Michael Cooper won Ferrari Challenge a couple years, then he won Rolex Daytona 3 or 4 years ago now, probably. Annie Franco raced in Daytona the past couple years. He's doing the full IMSA series, I think. Quite a few drivers have stepped up from Challenge to SRO or GT America, and your previous guest, Yusuf on IGT. So yeah, if they want to do it and they have the funds, they'll find a way for sure. And if they have the skill, obviously.
Yeah, that's why they go to the school.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, you were a racing driver yourself. So, what series did you compete in, and what did you enjoy most about participating in motorsport?
Sure. Yeah, I started off racing karts, stepped up to bigger karts, then a bunch of junior open wheel series, US 50,000, Atlantic, Formula Mazda, prototype lights. I've done a couple races in Ferrari World Challenge, was lined up to do Daytona, and then the team manager got arrested for money laundering and whatnot, so that didn't happen,
Oh my
unfortunately.
goodness.
You hear that more often than not in racing, unfortunately. I don't get to drive all that often anymore. I definitely miss it. Occasionally I get to take a car out for a couple laps these days, but it's pretty
Mhm.
rare. For me personally, I'm either super, super competitive or not competitive at all. It just totally depends on what it is, but I like winning.
Oh yeah.
For things I care about, I like winning. I want to win.
I totally agree with that. Even if it's something simple like I'll be playing a board game or a card game or something, and if I'm trying to take it seriously because I'm there with a group of people, so it's like I want to win or whatever activity it may be. I get it.
Yep. Missing that in my
That's
life probably a little bit now.
well, that is really cool that you got to experience all that. And do you have, when you're looking back, do you have a favorite race in mind?
Uh,
I know that might be kind of a big question.
Favorite single race? That's interesting. I can tell you the most memorable ones, but they're not the most favorite for sure.
Well, absolutely, you can go with anyway. Yeah, a memorable one, we'll take that for sure.
I was at a race at Sebring in probably '07, '08. Had a crash on turn 13. That was 2.5 rolls. That was interesting for sure. That's one that kind of sticks out in my mind for sure. That's probably the biggest accident I ever had.
Yeah, you probably never forget those.
Some of the cooler ones, I think, were running a support race at Daytona 24. That's an incredible, incredible track. Nothing else like that in the world. I think between the banking and the infield sections, they've just raced on this past weekend. Scary place, a little bit scary place if you have an off though. For
Sure. I'm sure that's what I actually do appreciate about a lot of the American old school kind of racetracks is they still have that fear factor. When you look at some of them, they still look intimidating.
Yes, for sure. The modern tracks, great to drive on, but there's like a million miles of paved runoff, right? Like you can have an off
Yeah.
and it's like, all right, well, not the biggest deal in the world for the most part. Old school American tracks like Road Atlanta, Sonoma, probably. If you have an off, there's a concrete wall, or Watkins Glen especially. That's probably a big one off the top of my head here. If you have an off, there's an Armco or a concrete wall waiting for you.
Yeah, and I think they just look spectacular too. I love it when they come into the pits and it's not, you don't see this huge giant grand pit building or structure. It's a wall with tents on the other side of it. But I love that because
Yeah.
that's racing to me.
Yeah, sure. And those tracks, the old school American tracks, reward having big balls.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, there's an Armco, but if you don't hit it by a couple millimeters, that's where you're going to get your fastest lap time.
That's amazing. I love that. So, what's your most current project and what does the near future look like for you?
So I'm currently an independent consultant. I do a lot of dealership training with new product launches. Here's a new car, why it's great, why it's awesome. This is how you talk about it with your clients. I've seen a big kind of jump in requests for hospitality training for car manufacturers, especially the luxury brands. Like, how do we make it a more special experience for this client spending, $200,000 on their, say, Range Rover? A lot of the things we did at Ferrari to make it a personalized experience, a special experience, memorable experience, so they keep coming back. Starting to do that as kind of training initiatives across other luxury brands. Still working on with Formula One and the Paddock Club on a couple different activities that we talked about. I do stunt driving on movies, TV shows on the side more than the rest. Yeah, but definitely this is definitely much less stressful than working at Ferrari, which sounds weird to say that, I guess, but yeah, I'm down to kind of enjoy my life a little bit more than being a corporate slave for a while.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you gotta sometimes do that and take those opportunities when you have them. Are you allowed to talk about any of the movie stuff?
In what way?
Like maybe talk about like favorite set or moment in stunt driving that you've had?
So the vast majority of stunt driving is not actually stunts at all. It's mostly just moving a vehicle around on camera, being precise of where you stop and start and the speeds and whatnot.
Okay.
I was I mean, I'm Asian. I played a chauffeur for a North Korean general for a movie not that long ago, which was kind of interesting because, I had the full uniform, right?
Yeah.
The star and everything. And I sent a picture to my mom and my grandma, and they were like, what's going on here? It's just funny. But I mean, yeah, that's like 99% of the TV and film projects. It's just a car moving, really, more than anything else.
Okay, gotcha. Still really cool though. I love that.
Yeah, good times. Really long days typically, but you get to see yourself on a screen at some point later, even though if you can't see yourself.
And like, how can that not be cool?
Like, yeah, you go, huh, me. That's usually
Yeah,
it.
there I am.
That's usually it.
Well, great. Thanks for sharing. So now I have a little bit more of kind of at the end of this segment, a few fun, kind of easy, quick lightning round kind of questions. So if you could only own one Ferrari, which one would you pick and why?
For a bank account or to drive?
Like if you could only drive one Ferrari for the rest of your life, like you're gonna own this car and drive it around.
A 40, easy.
F.
Yep, that's an easy choice.
That one's a.
Yep, I tried to get the finance guys at Ferrari. I was like, I need a 100-year loan term, starting in about 50 years after I die. But I don't think that was gonna fly.
Have you been able to drive one of those?
No, I've been in one. I did not get to drive it.
I feel like that's every Ferrari fan's dream is to drive one of those.
Yep. And at the end of the day, everyone to some degree is a Ferrari fan.
That's true. Yep. Sebastian Vettel said that as well. Hamilton's always admired them. I think I read somewhere that Lewis Hamilton is trying to get Ferrari to make him an F40.
Yeah.
And he wants it to call it the F40.
Yep. When he first joined the team, it seemed like that was happening. And I think I saw, not too long ago that it's no longer happening.
What?
I don't know. We'll see. I think if, Lewis wins a world championship or something with Ferrari, they'll probably make it happen for him. Yeah, never say never, I guess. But
if Hamilton asks for it, just like, let's make it happen. Like,
yeah, you would think, but it's Ferrari. They say no first. That was one of the most interesting things I think about working there, right? Every other brand client wants something. Yes, we'll figure out how to do it. Yes, right? You say yes first. At Ferrari, it was always no. And then if they keep asking, it's like, well, yeah, okay, maybe we'll do it. But I mean, the brand loyalty that they've built, the client base that they're willing to do for the next allocation, can't fault them from that.
Yeah, maybe they want to see how much the person really wants it first. Like, okay, if they've kept asking, then they're really serious about it. So,
yeah. And for most of these clients, it's not a question of being able to afford it. They just want one.
Well, I hope it happens. That would be an incredible project to see. So if you could change one thing in Formula One, what would it be?
I should probably wait and see how 26 works out with the new regulations. I think we'll see a big shakeup. The only thing I would change is kind of so you go to an American race, like say Daytona, like you were talking about, any IMSA race, NASCAR race, IndyCar. All the garages are open for the fans. Pit lane's reasonably open for fans. The grid walk is open for fans. With American racing, it's very inclusive. With F1, and I get it, right? It's born out of rich playboys, elites who wanted to go play with their cars on Sunday and see who was faster. Now, if you're a normal, quote unquote, normal fan, you're not getting within 3 miles of a car or a driver or anyone of importance, right? And all of these super fans are kind of standing up against a fence, seeing a car fly by, every 2 seconds. And I think, especially for the ticket prices that they charge, is a bit sad.
Yeah.
So I do wish F1 was more inclusive of the kind of the average fan, but that kind of is just the culture of how F1 began. So I don't know if we'll see that change.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there, because I've been to IMSA, IndyCar, some other events, Rallycross, and it is so inclusive. You can get up close and personal with everything. You can talk to drivers. It is so incredible to be like, because you really feel like you're a part of it at that point. And I went to the United States Grand Prix, which was an incredible experience all in itself, just because it's Formula One, and you're never going to see anything like that. But yeah, I do wish it was more inclusive for the hardcore fans. That would be really awesome thing to see.
Yeah, that is one of the things I was always very kind of appreciative of the Ferrari Challenge Race Series. You buy a general admission ticket. Some of them are $30 at some tracks, some are free. And you can walk up on pit lane. You can walk up to all the team garages. You can walk up with the drivers. We'd always do an autograph session. If you have a little kid with you, most of the teams will let you sit in a car if they're not in a rush. That to me is what racing should be about, right? Like giving everyone an experience to be a fan, to feel involved. That's how you kind of create super fans to me.
100%.
Formula One is very kind of elitist in that fashion of wanting to keep the general public at bay.
Well, maybe with this kind of newer trend going on long enough, maybe we actually will start to see change to that area.
It would be
one
cool
of these
for
days.
Sure. Yeah, it would be cool.
I agree. So besides, excluding Formula One, I should say, what is your favorite motorsport that you'd love to watch?
I watched World Endurance Championship. I watched the IMSA series for the most part. I think MotoGP is super entertaining to watch. Yeah, that's probably the main three in terms of watching motorsports.
Well, great selections. Yeah, we're a big fan of the World Endurance Championship on this podcast.
Yep, Ferrari's got a little run going on, so hopefully they keep it up too.
I hope so. All right. So final question in this segment. Who do you look up to in the racing world? And this can be past or present.
I think anyone in the motorsports industry that I deeply respect and admire, I think the first person that comes to mind is Toto Wolff. He went from a college dropout, essentially, to his current role of turning that Mercedes team around when he took it over from a midfield team with all the resources in the world. He talked about his management style of like, hey, I'm not the expert, just like I'm empowering everyone to do their part, their best, and it's okay to make mistakes. To what, I guess, billionaire now as part owner of that team. And it's kind of rubbed off on Susie Wolff and what she's done within Formula E and then the F1 Academy with the female drivers. What he's been able to do as not someone born into that sport has been nothing short of amazing.
Excellent choice. Yeah, he's really demonstrated how effective he is as a leader of a Formula One team. So I respect that.
If you ever, I don't know if you've seen his interview on Nico Rosberg's podcast. He talks about how what he says his management style is, I've never experienced, I think, anywhere else. Not that I've experienced his, I'm just going off what he says. But yeah. It's so different from anyone else I've ever had the chance to work with.
Did hear about, I think it was on Formula One's podcast, Beyond the Grid. I think I heard in an interview of when he first took over how he wanted the bathroom to be clean, like the scheduled cleaning. Like he had set intervals on Friday versus Saturday versus Sunday, because the longer the days go on, the more usage that it gets. So he was like, after Sunday, I want somebody in there after every usage cleaning the bathroom. It needs to look like it's been spotless as soon as the next person goes in there. Like,
I've never heard that, but that's very interesting. And that would be, that it makes sense for his management style for sure.
Absolutely. I totally understand why too. Like he wants to keep everything presentable. I do respect that. Hello, everybody. Editing Xander here with a quick announcement, but one that is really exciting. So the Ferrari Fan Club podcast now officially has a Patreon. Yes, I'm super excited to bring this news to you guys. There's a couple different tiers, and let me break them down for you very quickly. So the first tier is called GT3, and if you join this, it's general support. You get to vote for your favorite Ferrari driver of the day when we actually get to racing. That's both Formula One and WEC races, and you get access to the community chats. Now, this tier is $3 a month. The next tier up is called Hypercar, and it's $4 a month. Here you get ad-free episodes. I mean, once if ads ever do get up on here, but you will remain with ad-free content. You'll get questions and comments for WEC races, so you'll be able to submit your own thoughts on the races, and you'll also be able to vote for your driver of the day like the previous tier, and of course the access to the chats. And then the top of the line category, or tier as Patreon calls it, is Formula One, of course, and that is $5 a month. Now, you get everything else from the previous tiers, but you also get a special member shout out. You also get questions and comments for Formula One races along with the WEC races, as I mentioned previously. And like everything else, you get to vote for your driver of the day, and you get chat access. Now, it's just $3, $4, and $5 a month, depending on which tier you go for. I'm trying to keep it really simple, but I'm also trying to offer you guys a little bit more for the podcast. And if you do decide to support this project, I greatly appreciate it. I am so, so thankful for you just listening. And if you decide to go above and beyond and donate some of your hard-earned money, I so greatly appreciate it. But that's all I have to say for now. The link is listed down below in the podcast description, and hope to see you in the chats. Now let's get back to the show. All right, so let's get into some Ferrari-centered questions, and this more has to do with the Formula One team and current events, because I would love to get your perspective on some of these. And let's start with John Elkin's comments. With the drivers needing to talk less, Hamilton struggling in his first season with the team, and Leclerc calling that it's now or never. What do you make of the current state of Ferrari's operations in Formula One?
Frankly, I think they just can't get their shit together. You look at a team like Ferrari and the resources that they have, the access to all the talent in the world, and not being able to beat even say a customer team like McLaren is these days. That's rather disappointing, I think. And Lewis going to Ferrari and not winning a single podium, even. Yeah, they're going to be frustrated for sure. I mean, Leclerc has essentially dedicated his whole life to that team. And, every race, every season is one less that they're ever going to do, right? Racing drivers have a very finite shelf life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I get it. They're expressing their frustration is not surprising, I think. Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but really not surprising for the two drivers.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It has been a struggle for Ferrari they've had moments of seeming like they have turned the corner. Like I know with the 2017 and 2018 seasons, they seemed to start really strongly and then start to trail off. I mean, Sebastian Vettel was leading both of those championships, I believe, till the halfway point. So it tears your heart out to kind of see that, happen time and time again. But yeah, there is some sort of ingredient missing, and that kind of goes into the next question. Do you think that Ferrari has the right people in place to turn things around?
I think people-wise, yes. I mean, just from Fred Vasseur, he's obviously very capable team principal, but having worked in that company culture for a little while, the Italian media is absolutely brutal. The Italians, like, Ferrari is like a religion more than a car company. It's all, you're carrying the entire weight of the country on your shoulders. And there definitely is a bit of no one wants to be responsible for making a decision type of vibe within the company. I mean, I haven't worked within the F1 team, but wouldn't be surprised if that was also on the F1 team from normal corporate culture. So you end up having relatively high-level managers making relatively low-level decisions, and everyone's scared to stick their neck out to propose something different or radical or even marginally against the norm. So that stifles creativity. It stifles progress, I think, for sure. I go back to Toto Wolff's interview where he talks about he likes to start every meeting by saying something that he screwed up with, so that all of his subordinates realize, like, okay, it's okay to make mistakes and not be punished for it. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not a people issue particularly. It's the kind of the culture of Ferrari and the pressure they're all under to make results. But I think you can see the results that have been ever since Schumacher, Ross Brown kind of era.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't been successful.
Yeah, and when you look back to that era of the Michael Schumacher, Ross Brawn, Jean Todt, with how they ran that team, and everybody had their own role and cared for their responsibilities. As long as everybody did that, the success came. I feel like currently right now, Ferrari is in this vicious cycle of chasing their tail. When something happens, they kind of have a knee-jerk reaction, and that leads them down the wrong avenue. Then they have a knee-jerk reaction to that, and then that continues to push them down the wrong path instead of just stopping and saying, okay, what do we need to do here? Like, what people need to have the focus or priority on the certain jobs, or just sometimes leaving people, like you said, to be creative, to do their jobs, to be able to have that safe space to be able to innovate, because that's what a Formula One team needs for success.
Fred Vasseur the team principal on paper, but you see the comments from John Elkann and
Ugh.
whatnot. So he's definitely reaching down and making decisions outside of Fred
Yeah.
Vasseur's purview, right? It's not stated, but I think everyone knows that. That's just not a system that works in an environment like Formula One, I think.
And this segues perfectly into this next question here. So Ferrari start off 2026 in a bad way. What do you foresee playing out for the team as a whole? And do you think big changes will be made at the very top?
That's a tough question. So far, the word out of preseason testing is it seems like they've got a decent car.
Okay.
That's kind of what I've been hearing. It's got too much white on it for me, but fine. But with the new regulation changes, I think it will probably reset the order of the grid. And the risk that you run with the first season of a new regulation is that you set the tone for the entirety of that regulation set, right? Because every year it'll be an evolution of the car from the before, more than likely. And even if you decide you've gone down the wrong path and you do a total redesign, but every other car is, a year down the evolution path versus yours, which is now brand new again. So it's definitely a tough road, right? I mean, you see this happen with, Mercedes in the engine era, and then McLaren and Red Bull in the ground effect era. Whoever gets that first season right generally does very well for the remaining of that technical series, technical regulation. So I'm not sure if Ferrari starts off terribly, not that I'm hoping that they do, but even if, midfield really is terrible for Ferrari.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's hard to say. Fred Vasseur's under a lot of pressure. I think there's been talks of him getting replaced even before this. I think John Elkann, the board, will probably feel some pressure to at least make changes that are visible, right, to the fan base, to the media, to the team.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll actually change anything, frankly.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I appreciate your perspective on that. And it is, when a team starts a regulation cycle off well, they usually do very well for the remainder. And kind of the only recent modern example we see of a team kind of turning things around partway through is McLaren with the ground effect era.
Sure.
How they all of a sudden became strong in these last two seasons.
Yeah. But they also had the advantage of, so whenever you start off a regulation cycle, you'll have everyone kind of start at different areas. And then the longer that regulation cycle goes, everyone kind of ends up being very similar. You have all the technical regulation, all the technical development, but kind of all getting together. So like the cars end up being very, very similar. And McLaren have just got it down the I guess you could say year, right? They were competitive the past two or so, but they had the advantage of having an extra long development technical regulation cycle with COVID this time around.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. And I mean, Formula One doesn't even seem to have that much faith in the 2026 regulation. So if Ferrari gets off to a bad start, I don't know, maybe we'll see the Formula One have a knee-jerk reaction and bring back V8s or something like that's been swirling in the rumor mill.
I definitely would love the sound coming back for sure.
Same here.
I'm not old enough to have seen 20 of those cars running together, right? But I've seen one or two, and I can't imagine seeing 20 of them at full throttle down Spa, as an example. But the new regulations with the movable wings, a lot of hybrid electrical power, it's going to be very interesting for sure.
It really is. And I think the engines already do kind of sound slightly better, removing the MGU-H.
Okay.
So there's been a slight sound improvement there. So I mean, I like that, but yeah, I came in on the last season of V8s, so to go from those to then the first generation of the V6 turbo was a little disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you go to some of the races now, and the support series cars are louder than the F1 cars, and that's kind of sad to me.
That's actually very true, because I think even the Porsche Cup cars were louder when I went to COTA. So
yes, those Porsches are so loud.
All right, so do you think Hamilton will win a race with Ferrari? And do you think Leclerc will win a championship in red?
I really hope so. I
do too.
really hope so. Leclerc has literally given his entire life to that team.
I know.
He deserves to be paid for it, really, right? I hope Hamilton wins at least a race. I think he will. Another championship again. That one I think I'm less certain on.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hamilton will win at least a race with Ferrari. And I'm gonna say Leclerc does do it because I just want to believe.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
All right, and final question here. Where do you see the sport going in the next several years?
I hope to see more louder engines coming back. I know it's not like green, which was kind of the way to the world for a while, but we have other series that like Formula E and the hypercars that are hybrids to a degree these days. So, I mean, for me, stay in your lane, do what you're good at, making loud, ridiculous, top technology cars. For me, like if the engines, as an example, if it makes sense to go hybrid or electric for performance reasons, do it. But I don't want to see doing a hybrid system just to have a hybrid system, just to be able to say,
Agreed.
we have a hybrid system as a fan, right? It would also be very cool to have, which we're having for 26, smaller, lighter cars that hopefully can drive closer together and provide better racing for the fans. We've had a couple of these seasons over the past 4 or 5 years or so where they couldn't really overtake. They couldn't follow close together, and it was incredibly boring to watch. And that's not good for the fan base, right? Even though it's good for the team, I guess, whoever's winning, it's incredibly boring for the drivers too, frankly. It's just
Yeah.
frustrating sitting behind someone.
Yeah, and to me, Formula One needs to be, it is the pinnacle of motorsport, but it needs to show it's the pinnacle. It needs to be the most extreme, the most exciting. And whatever it takes to be that, I think Formula One should go in that direction because you don't want to be superseded by another racing series because we know there's this project by Anthony Hamilton with the V10 hybrid series
Mhm.
and all this kind of stuff. So if they're the ones that bring the noise, or if IndyCar finally figures their stuff out and they're like, we're going to be the series that brings all the noise and all that kind of stuff and like supersedes Formula One in that way, I feel like that cannot happen. So Formula One needs to figure out how to stay on top as we are the most exciting in every single way.
Yeah. To a degree, I would argue the WEC series cars are possibly more technologically advanced these days. There certainly were, in the Audi Porsche era, I think, LMP1s. In terms of the powertrain, the aero on those cars, the lap times are able to do within the regulations for 24 hours also.
Yeah.
Those cars are absolutely incredible from a technological standpoint. For me, like F1 has to be better than that. And I don't know if that's a clear difference at the moment.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with your statement there, but I hope Formula One can kind of figure what the future needs to be. I think that they eventually will, especially if other motorsports start to kind of, have a little bit of competition with them, because if there's one thing Formula One doesn't want, it's eyes going to other series. So if that starts happening, I have faith Formula One will do something about it.
Sure. And I think we've seen kind of the Netflix fan base plateau, more or less. So, how do you keep up the momentum? That's the next question for F1.
And that is a great question. It's a great place to end this episode. Tony, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I really appreciate you sharing your life story and also having so many intriguing comments on the current state of Formula One and also the Ferrari team as well. Well, if you think that we're doing a good job on the show, it would be super helpful to leave a comment, leave a rating. That really does help. I am launching the official Patreon for this podcast, so all those links and everything will be down below if you feel like supporting the podcast. Tony, thank you so much again. Is there any final comments that you'd like to say or anything you'd like to tell the listeners?
No, just thank you for having me. This was fun.
Absolutely. I had a great time. And wherever you are in the world or wherever you're listening, hope you're having a good one. Talk to you next time.